Hello. Have you ever taken a vacation but you didn't really get to rest? Well, I had one of those recently and I just wanted to share what my experience was and how I ended up being my own student in the very same vacation where I was able to do a lot of creative work and writing. Welcome to the Regulated Leader. Here we grow bandwidth so that you can lead with clarity, parent with presence, and build a sustainable legacy. I'm Evelyn Gitome, and today I would like to explore a personal experience that I recently had. So I took 2 weeks off, which is something that I don't always get the privilege of doing this incidents. I had plans that I ended up partially canceling, but I still chose to take the time to rest. And or rather, I took time off my CFO duties so that I could be able to focus on growing and expanding Evegrow. The first week, I had an amazing time. I took the time to finish the draft of a book that I've been working on concerning bandwidth, and the energy was flowing. There was creativity after creativity, and I just enjoyed that first week. Then I also was checking in with work because I just couldn't shut my brain off my work entirely. So I kept checking in at work, and I also was still doing my creative flow. And I was feeling very energized at that and feeling very happy about the progress I was making. Then the second week of vacation hit, and all of a sudden I realized that I had more to do than I had vacation time left, and I still wanted time to rest. And then I started feeling all kinds of thoughts flooding in terms of what can I even truly tackle? What is the highest priority? And after I do all this and then I go back to work, it's going to be even more crazy because I knew exactly what I was going back to because it was audit season. It was also just review season, performance review season, cost report season, any kind of season in that CFO world. So I knew that somehow in this week I was supposed to factor in rest and also moving forward. While I didn't have too many competing responsibilities, I thought I could actually get more work done for Evegrow. Well, in that overwhelmed moment, when I realized that now my ambition had become a threat to my own nervous system, and I was now almost in feeling the pressure to perform and dreading and maybe having some level of resentment and all thoughts that triggered when my nervous system got into that freeze, fight, or flee mode. That's when I decided to take a pause. I assessed what was of greatest value that week, and I decided to turn off my notifications, turn off all the CFO work, turn off the Evegrow work, and I only worked with one client that week, one session, and the rest was just time for me and for the family. And I decided to take a chapter from my book to study or to read because all I wanted was to rest. So I decided to dig into the book chapter of Play and Renewal. And as I read through and got the reminders of lessons I've learned in the past, and when I was reminded about how our bodies are built to be in a certain rhythm and how important it is to embrace the moments of high energy and creativity and the moments of stillness, I was able to get an inspiration that completely helped me to realize that I was so careful to continue to work and work and work and focus on trying to push what I felt was in my heart, burning inside me for Evegrow, and in between all the entrepreneurial work that goes with it, recording, writing, connectivity, websites, social media, I had gotten lost in the doing and forgot to be in the being. And as I were in the being, as I got a time to rest, I was able to realize that I just finished one of the most major phases of something that I've been doing. And because of the continuing to-do list, I was about to not even take a pause. In that pause, I realized that what I was building was already done and I just needed to start leaving it out. So I realized, if you would, that moment was the moment that this section of Evegrow was being birthed, and there was no way it could be birthed without me taking the time to pause and rest. When you go through an inspiration moment of your life, as a leader, most of the time we're driven by our own intuition, creativity, when we had a chance to lean in and find a solution, and then we go out and start to implement the solution. And because of how the system is set up, a system where we are rewarded for productivity and for meeting deadlines, and especially in the work of a CFO, it's so easy to just be one who cycles from deadline to deadline and deadline to deadline, forgetting that the work that we're doing, we actually were able to get the inspiration and the creativity to do it from a point of rest. And so getting back to that section of rest allowed me to reflect and to see a breakthrough that really was more in alignment with what I needed to do, where I needed to be. And it allowed me to embrace the fact that play, which is rest at its best, is how our brain was created to be in rhythm, moments of activity and moments of rest. And it was so refreshing to be able to reset my nervous system, to be able to just breathe and acknowledge that as a leader, it's not always about accomplishing results, that rest is very strategic. I was able to put closure on topics through using play strategies that I share in my book, and rest and renewal strategies that was worth more than a month's worth, if you would, of nonstop full-time work. It really was worth the next phase of Evegrow, as I will be sharing soon. What I was reminded as I reviewed what I have learned through the years concerning play and renewal, I was reminded of the risks of over control, the risks of always being in a sympathetic nervous system state. I was reminded of how the very productivity we seek begins from a nervous system space or spaciousness. I was reminded how play is the way our brain remembers its true rhythm and the way that it regenerates new pathways. It was that moment of pause that allowed me to be in my most inspired state as I worked with my one client, and what seemed to be a coincidence is the breakthroughs that I heard in that week are the same breakthroughs and concepts that my client needed to move forward. So in that moment of pause, while I thought that what I needed was to drive into my client's site with a heap of files as I would do in my CFO work, or with all this nervous system data and science to share, I was able to go as I was and just be able to rest. And in that moment of rest, that moment of taking a breath, therein, we were able to find the very bloodstream of flow of energy that was needed to move us forward. My question to ask today is, what does your play strategy look like? What does your rest strategy as a leader look like? How often are you able to catch yourself when you get into that nervous system state that is driven by constant adrenaline and cortisol? Trust me, I have lived that life for so many years, and I, at the moment, didn't have the depth of understanding of how important it was to be able to be in that state of play and rest, to be able to have an even bigger, greater, and more sustainable legacy and impact. So my encouragement to us is, if you're in a phase where you feel that there are projects that you've been working on that just feel like a burden, they started as an inspiration and now they're a burden, or you're in a state where you were connecting and relating with others from a very high level, a higher intelligence level, and your creativity and your ways of connecting with them was very much inspired, but now you're in a phase where everything is feeling pushed and pressured. Ideas that used to flow so easily in your work environment or your home environment are now just like a big burden. If you're in that state, I welcome you to consider rest as your strategic advantage for this season. And also, I welcome you to explore ways and environments that allow for you to expand your bandwidth in the area of rest as a way to reset your nervous system, as a way to strategize your way forward. And I welcome you to the Evegrow expansion, bandwidth expansion container, a space where leaders actually get to work together. We're starting up a very spacious, intentional journey of leaders who have chosen to expand their bandwidth capacity so that they can lead with clarity and they can show up in all areas of their life with presence, and they can allow their nervous system to trust them in the journey of leadership that they would be taking forward. I look forward to sharing with you and holding space for you if you feel that you're in that need of needing a very intentional, spacious environment to grow and shift from a point of overwhelm to a point of rest, inspiration, and strategy, from a point of overcommitment to a point of being comfortable with the commitments that you have in each day, from a point of lack of inspiration to a point of divine inspiration, calm, and vision that is needed for the challenging and fast-paced world we live in.